Am I wrong for buying my sister's dream house? My wife, who is 30 years old, and I, who am 27, recently closed on our dream house, and it has the family torn. Years ago, my grandparents owned the family home, but when they died unexpectedly with a lot of medical debt and expenses, our family had to sell their house. It was heartbreaking and sad, and I decided as a small child that one day I would buy the house back. I shared those dreams with my sister. I met my wife when I was 18 and she was 21. Her parents owned a small rental that they allowed her to live in rent-free, just paying for the expenses. She invited me to live with her a year into our relationship, and we got married a year after that. I told her about my dreams of owning my grandparents' house, and she fully supported me. We began putting large amounts of money back for a down payment in the hopes that the house wouldn't go on the market before we could afford it. Because we didn't pay rent and both had good jobs for our ages and the economy we lived in, we were able to put back a very large sum of money. My in-laws also offered us a sum of $75,000 for the down payment, and in total, we put back about $185,000. About 20 years after my grandparents passed away, their house finally went back on the market at a massive price. The house itself is huge with 6 bedrooms, a large lakefront estate, and several features including a pool and a small guest house. We knew that this house would have a huge price tag, and we skimped and budgeted for 9 years to afford my dream house. My sister was also house shopping at this time, but with a much smaller budget. Her and her husband have children, student debt, and rented for the past several years, and were not able to put back money in the same way my wife and I were. When our grandparents' house went on the market, I sent the link to my sister and said that we were finally getting our grandparents' home back in the family. She was very excited and said as much, and that was that. My wife and I moved forward, visiting with the owners and real estate agents, having it inspected and made an offer. They accepted, and we were absolutely over the moon. We had a barbecue at my parents' house to celebrate the final closing of our house. During the dinner, my mother-in-law offered to kennel our dogs while we were in the stages of moving to keep things easier and them safe. And that was when my sister piped up. She asked why our dogs needed to be watched when the real issue was her kids. My wife asked what she meant, and she said that her kids would need more supervision than our dogs, and that she was confused as to why we'd be so busy that our dogs needed watching. I told her I was the one confused. I didn't know she was helping us move, and that if her kids couldn't reliably be left to their own devices, then she absolutely did not need to help us pack. My sister proceeded to ask why my wife and I would be packing. I told her the obvious: we just closed on a house. For length reasons, I'll leave out a lot of the back and forth, but here's the gist of it. My sister had it in her head that we were buying the house to either A, rent, to own it out to her family, or B, transfer the title to her name and have her pay us back in time. Yes, that is literally what she was thinking, despite us never discussing anything like that once. When I told her that was not happening, my sister threw a fit. She was pissed because this was her dream too, and that it wasn't fair that only one of us could live it. That since she had children, they deserved to grow up in the family home. And what did my wife and I even need all that space for? My wife told her that it isn't the family home anymore. It wasn't left in a will, we purchased it, and now it is our home, and we decide what we will do with it. My sister told my wife to shut up and that she had no say in this family discussion. I informed my sister that if she spoke to my wife that way again, we would not be having any kind of contact with her anymore. That she doesn't get to assume we're giving her a house and then throw a hissy fit when she's put in her place, and we left. My in-laws spoke to us on the matter a few times, but all told us we were in the right and that my sister was very out of line. I assumed everyone would agree, but if they did, I wouldn't be on this thread. I got texts and voicemails from my parents saying that we were out of line, threatening my sister. They told me they were disappointed in me for taking my sister's dream from her, and that I don't have kids, so I can't understand her want to provide them with a good home and childhood like she had. That it's only fair we set up a way to give her the house, and that we could afford to find something else. Even my more distant relatives have said that it was cruel of us to take that from her. I'm honestly super shocked and taken aback. I've seen stories similar to this on Reddit, entitled "People Thinking They Should Get Their Relatives' Houses," but I never expected to live it. This feels surreal, and I hate that we're starting this new chapter out on such a sour note. Am I wrong for buying my sister's dream house?